I'll be honest with you, I'm not really one for single prize decks, but I do think this one has a good amount of potential and is something that I definitely want to try. Hey, Nick from 9Card TCG, and today we are looking at a single prize deck that I don't know exactly how good it's going to be. I personally think it has some potential, and I do really like the way that it can be structured, and there's a ton of ways that you can build this, I'm sure. We'll get into a little bit about some of the edits that you can make to it as we talk about the deck profile. But before we do, if you haven't already, do me a favor, subscribe, leave a like, and a comment. Those things tell YouTube this is a good channel and other people should watch it. I am very impressed at myself that I got it right today, because in my head, I was like prepared for it to be wrong, and my brain is saying it incorrectly, and I'm forcing my mouth to I don't like where this is going. Just know that I'm proud of myself for not stumbling across through my intro today. Now, with all that said, let's head over to the Pokegear app where we can take a look at the single prize deck. A lot of these cards do come from Lost Origin, and a lot of them don't. We're going to start with the ones that do come from Lost Origin, and of the cards from Lost Origin, you have to get these cards. If at the very least, if you're not going to buy them, know them. I made a video about it. So we're going to start with Comfey. Comfey is it's a phenomenal card. 70 HP, which means it's a little bit harder to quick shooting, Blastoise, whatever the pump shot, Yoga Loop, KO. You need that extra Goon Ping or 10 damage in order to Yoga Loop a Comfey. Really like that. Flower Selecting, hate the ability. It's Flower Picking because that's what we've been translating it as, and that's what I'm going to be using it. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one of them into your hand, one of them into the Lost Zone. If you're not familiar with the Lost Zone, basically you have your playfield, your prizes, your deck, your discard pile, and then the active bench. There's a spot for stadiums, and then basically right above your prizes is where you'll put cards in the Lost Zone. Lost Zone is public knowledge, so both you and your opponent can look through it. However, once a card goes to the Lost Zone, it is essentially banished or exiled from the game for the remainder of the game. So we get to look at the top 2 cards and put one into the Lost Zone, one goes into our hand. Now, it's really nice because it says you may look at the top 2 cards. You don't have to reveal them, so I don't have to show them to my opponent, which is really good. And we have 4 Comfeys. The reason we want so many Comfeys is because we want to cycle through them. We want to use things like Scoop Up Nets and our switches, our air balloons, to move between our Comfeys so we can consistently use Flower Selecting. And we want to do that as many times as we can because we want to be able to attack with Cramorant. It has the Lost Provisions attack. If you have 4 more cards in the Lost Zone, this Pokemon's energy attack cost is 0. That's basically what it says. And you get to hit Spit Innocently? That's the name of this attack? It was Conniving Spit or Conniving Shot. It was Spit Innocently is not a good name. 110 damage. It's not affected by weakness, so it's fine. Whatever. We're really just trying to do some chip damage onto a V or V-Star, knock out a Sabo, Drizzile, something like that. Maybe an opposing Comfey. Kind of gonna get a free prize. Now, it might sound like 4 cards in a row, so how am I supposed to do that? Well, if you go second, 2 Comfeys and a single Chorus, which we'll talk about, will get you to your 4 cards in the Lost Zone. So, my goodness, not as hard as you think. We do have Sableye, and of course it doesn't show. Sableye has what I'm calling, or what it's been translated to as Lost Mine attack. You can only use this attack if you have 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone. It's a single Psychic Energy, but you get to put 12 damage counters onto your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like, which means if they got 2 Sabos on the field, and you're playing a Palkia and they're trying to set something up for later in the game, you can slap down the Sableye, attach a single Psychic Energy to it, and then just go ahead and put 12 damage counters, 6 on each Sabo, and you get 2 free prizes, and now your opponent doesn't have them for the following turn. You can use this again. You do some chip damage onto a V-Star with something like Cramorant or whatever. Now you can put an extra 12 damage onto that V or V-Star with Sableye. So it's a really nice way of being able to finish off Pokemon who you've damaged or trying to soften up for the next turn. This does also pair really well with something like Radiant Charizard. Excited Heart, this attack's cost is 1 colorless less for each prize card your opponent has taken. Combustion Blast is the attack, and it's a lot. It's 1 fire, 4 colorless. So if your opponent has taken 4 prizes or more, you can use Combustion Blast for a single fire energy and hit for 250. 280 if we attach a Choice Belt to our opponent's Pokemon V. And yeah, now we don't always have to use the Choice Belt because we do have something like Cramorant, what's going to soften something up, and then Charizard can come in and take the knockout. We can also use Charizard, and then the following turn, so let's say it's a Palkia or an Arceus V-Star, has 250 damage on it. Because we use Radiant Charizard, they KO us. The following turn, we can use Sableye. We can maybe even, we don't have to boss because Sableye lets you put the damage counters anywhere, but we could, in theory, say boss up something that maybe can't retreat, and then put 3 damage counters onto a, that damaged Arceus or Palkia V-Star, get the knockout, and then put the remaining 9 on, say, like a Drizzile that they might have, or whatever. If you're playing Lost Origin Giratina, you could do the same thing, and now you finish the KO on the Giratina, and then knock out a Comfey. You could put the remaining 2 damage counters anywhere you want. Try again, just soften something up for the following turn. We are using the Inteleon engine here, so Keep Calling is pretty powerful turn 1 if you have no other option, but you really do want to be using your Comfey. If you are a little bit afraid of Drapion, which you really shouldn't in a deck like this, you can switch these to the 70 HP Sobbles because we don't necessarily need to use Keep Calling, but in extreme circumstances we could. 3 Shady Dealing Drizziles because it's going to help us, use our ability, and we can Shady Dealing to find a trainer card, whether that is a Scoop Up Net, Air Balloon, Choice Belt, Boss's Orders, whatever it is we need for that turn. Then we also have Shady Dealings in Inteleon, so we get 2 trainers for that turn, and Manaphy is going to protect our bench so that we don't get absolutely crushed by things like Jolteon and Rapid Strike Urshifu. Now, that's the Pokemon. We do have a fair amount of Pokemon search in the form of level balls, so we can find our Comfeys, we can find Sableye, Sobbles, Drizziles, things like that. Quick balls for everything. Well, not everything else, but for our Cramorants and for our Radiant Charizard. And we do have a couple of Evolution Incenses to find our Inteleons. We do need to be able to find Inteleon. We want a Shady Dealings for an Inteleon. That's something that we need to be able to, I phrase that poorly. We need to be able to Evolution Incense for an Inteleon. We draw into it. Maybe we have 2 Drizziles. We can evolve 1, get a Evolution Incense, and then use the Evolution Incense on the other Drizzile to get 2 more trainers with Inteleon. So yeah, that was poorly worded. Scoop Up Net is essential for this deck. You're going to be able to, it's going to do 3 things in this deck. The first, it is a pivot. You can just pick up any one of these Pokemon and put it back into your hand. So if you do that onto the active spot, well, now you get to promote a new Pokemon into the active. So it's a free switch card. We don't want to do it that much because we do have Air Balloon and switches where we can kind of help cycle through Comfeys, but it is really nice because if you want to reuse a Comfey's ability, you do have to bring it back to the hand and put it down again. So if you only have 2 Comfeys, you can, one's in the active, you use it, you can say Scoop Up Net into the hand, promote one that's on the bench, re-bench the one in the hand, use the ability, and then switch into the one that you re-benched, and now you get to use 3 Comfey abilities even though you only have 2. So that's a way you can do that. We can also reuse Shady Dealing abilities with Scoop Up Net. We have 2 Sobbles and 1 Drizzile. Well, we can go ahead and Drizzile onto 1 Sobble, Scoop Up Net, and then evolve the second Drizzile or the second Sobble and get 2 trainers again using that Scoop Up Net. So very, very important for this deck. Air Balloon and Switch just give us a little bit of mobility so that we can either get something out of the active or so that we can continue to use Comfeys or things like that. Choice Spot's going to let us do a little bit of extra damage. The Spit Innocently, that damage adds up. You hit for 140 damage. Even if your opponent knocks out this Cramorant, if you could do it again, or you come in with Sableye or something like that, like you're just putting in a bunch of damage pretty easily. I do love that Cramorant's attack can be totally free, so no shame in searching for this Cramorant pretty early and getting it. Depending on how things are set up, you might be using Cramorant more than you think. Couple of boss's orders, we want to be able to pull a Pokemon, finish it off, something like that. Maybe we want to use Charizard to just blow that card up so that our opponent, can't get a knockout maybe in the next turn, or we just kind of really disrupt their plans. Slap a Choice Belt on this thing. Like I said, you're knocking out Palkia V-Stars, Dialga V-Stars. You don't even need a Choice Belt to knock out Dialga because they are weak to fire. You might see a little bit more metal in the format once Kyurem VMAX starts to make the rounds, because that is weak to metal. So if people are playing metal to deal with Kyurem easier, well then now you have an advantage in dealing with those metal Pokemon. Now, we have 2 Cramorant, 1 Charizard. What happens, 1 Manaphy? What happens when those Pokemon get knocked out? Well, we do have an Ordinary Rod. We can get them back into the deck, and we could also get some energies back into the deck too with Ordinary Rod. But the card we are going to use the most for this is Thornton. Thornton is a fantastic supporter card that lets you just swap any one of your basic Pokemon in play with one from your discard pile. So you have a Comfey on the field and you're like, I don't need this Comfey anymore, I really need a Charizard. You no longer have to Ordinary Rod and then Quick Ball for the Charizard getting into play. You can actually promote a Comfey. When, say, your opponent knocks out something, you have to promote something. You can promote the Comfey and then just Thornton immediately into your Charizard. No more Ordinary Rod, no more Quick Ball, no more switching. You just swap it immediately from the discard. It's so good. I've played around with Comfey, Thornton, Sableye, and all that, and it is so much fun. Now, the cool thing about this is when you use Thornton, it's going to retain everything about that Pokemon. The damage it had, any energies, tools, and even a number of turns in play. So if you're like, man, I really need a Sobble this turn to get a boss to win the game, you can, you need a Drizzile or whatever, you can Thornton a Cramorant into a Sobble, and if that Cramorant was in play for a full turn, you can now evolve the Sobble into Drizzile, get the boss you need, win the game. And then the last new card is Corvus's Experiment. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose 3 of them to go in your hand, the other 2 go in the Lost Zone. Now, this is really, really powerful because, like I said before, 2 Comfeys and a Corvus, you're already hitting that 4, and then you're going to start taking some nice chip damage or, cheeky one prize knockouts with something like Cramorant. So really cool there. We do have Magma Basin to help accelerate some energy from the discard to get onto our Radiant Charizard. There's also a way to bump Path to the Peak so that we can use Charizard's ability when we need it. We have a bunch of Psychic energies. We probably don't need this many, if anything. The number of energies that we need can be reduced because this can attack for theoretically 1 to 2 energies. This can attack for 1 energy. This attacks for free. And then we do have one more card. Speaking of energy acceleration, is Mirage. Why do I even bother? Mirage Gate. You can only use it if you have 7 or more cards in the Lost Zone, but you get to search your deck for 2 basic energies of different types and then attach them to your Pokemon in any way you want. So your opponent has taken 3 prizes and now you want to attack with Charizard? Well, you can, or even if they have 2, you can Magma Basin. You need 2 more energies, so your Magma Basin, you can go ahead and use something like the Mirage Gate, that's 3, and then you can attach for turn, that's 4. You can get 4 energies onto this thing in a single turn. And if you change this deck up to include a Raihan, you can fulfill Radiant Charizard's attack cost in a single turn. Even if Path to the Peak was in play, you can get all 5 energies between Magma Basin, attach for turn, the Mirage Gate, and Raihan. So you'd have to have 2 fire, or at least 1 fire energy in the discard and another energy in the discard. Something would have to get knocked out the previous turn, and you'd have to have 7 cards in the Lost Zone. But people do play Path to the Peak. Sometimes a Arceus deck's going to play Path to the Peak. There, what else is playing? The Arceus Pika BBRL decks are playing Path to the Peak, so there are going to be times where Path is in play, but you can modify this deck how you need to hit pretty much anything at any point. It's really, really cool. Another thing you could throw in this deck is like Sableye V. You can say maybe remove this Sableye. This way you don't have to get so many cards into the Lost Zone and replace these with Dark Energies. And then use Sableye V. The Spit Innocently attack does 110 damage. You just annihilate anything with Sableye V from there. There's a lot of ways that we can change this deck up, and I think the most challenging part is, of course, selecting what goes into the Lost Zone. A lot of the cards here you do need, but there are going to be times where, like, oh, I'm playing against a Reggie deck. I don't need Choice Belts. I don't need Mana Feed because I'm playing a Arceus Pikachu deck. They don't hit the bench. I don't need this. I already have 2 Colruses in hand. I can get rid of one. Because I know there's a third one somewhere. I don't need all 4 Comfeys. I don't, there are going to be things that you can sacrifice. That's why we have a little bit of extra energy, so that we can sacrifice some energy. We have a way to discard some energy, recover them with Ordinary Rod and Magma Basin. So, yeah, that's pretty much the deck. I want to know in the comments what you think of it, how you would make some changes, and what decks you're most looking forward to with Lost Origin that releases on September 9th. But if you have a pre-release store, you can probably get that product a little bit sooner. I know I'm going to pick a booster box up on Monday, so be on the lookout for a live stream where I open up that box, and I'm very, very excited. That's going to do it for us today. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, found it a little informative. If you did, you can tell me in the comments how I forgot to turn on my background light. There we go. It's like the end of the video and I'm bothering. Why am I bothering to do it now? I don't know, but we're here, we're doing it, get used to it. Now, live stream Monday, that's cool. You can like, I spoke too soon about not messing up my, whatever. Like, subscribe, comment, check out the Twitch, check out the socials, all the stuff in the video description. That's going to do it for today. Thanks so much, and I will see you next time.